Everyone says they want to be wealthy, but few are willing to pay the real price. Not in dollars, but in mindset. You don't buy wealth with money, you buy it with perspective. It's the willingness to think when others rush, to plan when others spend, to grow when others rest. The average person wants quick returns. The wealthy plant trees. They don't ask how long will it take, they ask how far can I go? Because they know if you change your thinking for a year, you can change your results. But if you change it for life, you can change generations. There's a line, an invisible line, that separates the average from the wealthy. Most people never cross it, not because they can't, but because they never realize it's there. They live by reaction, not intention. They trade time for comfort instead of vision for growth. But once you see that line, once you understand how the wealthy think, you can step over it and life will never look the same again. The question is, are you ready to think differently long enough to become different? Let me tell you something I learned very early in life. You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to that hour. That's the starting point of wealth. Most people go to work hoping their paycheck will grow before they do. But life doesn't work that way. Your income will rarely, if ever, exceed your personal growth. If you want to earn more, you must first become more. It's a simple equation, but one that most people never master. They chase the money instead of the mindset that produces it. When I was younger, I used to complain about my low income. I thought the company should pay me more because I worked hard, showed up on time, and did everything I was told. But my mentor once looked me in the eye and said, "You don't get paid for time, you get paid for value. If you want to earn more, work on yourself more than you work on your job." That one sentence changed my life. Because from that moment on, I realized you can't demand more money until you've demanded more of yourself. See, most people spend their money on entertainment. The wealthy spend theirs on education. Most people come home and turn on the television. The wealthy open a book or listen to an idea that stretches their mind. One group escapes reality. The other creates a new one. That's the difference. Every time you learn something new, a skill, a strategy, a better way to think, you're not just adding information, you're increasing your economic value, you're making yourself more indispensable, more capable, and ultimately, more rewarded. When I began my own journey, I made a decision every single day I would give myself 1 hour to learn something valuable. Sometimes it was reading a book on leadership. Sometimes it was listening to a lecture while driving. I replaced hours of distraction with hours of development. And here's the secret. When you grow, everything around you begins to grow. Your income, your influence, your confidence, and your opportunities. You can't pour from an empty mind. If you want to lead, if you want to sell, if you want to build, you must first become the kind of person who can attract those results. Because success is not pursued, it's attracted by the person you become. Study those who are doing what you want to do. Model their habits. Learn their language. Upgrade one key skill every 90 days. Communication, leadership, persuasion, investing. Those skills compound faster than money ever will. So, if you truly want to go from average to wealthy, don't ask, how can I make more money? Ask, how can I become more valuable? The money will always find its way to value. The question is, are you becoming the kind of person it wants to find? Everything in your life begins with one thing, philosophy. Not the kind you study in college, but the kind that shapes your every decision, your attitude, your habits, and ultimately, your results. Your philosophy is the foundation of your life. It's how you think about money, work, people, time, and opportunity. And here's the truth. You can't have a rich life with a poor philosophy. You can't plant the seeds of scarcity and expect a harvest of abundance. Most people don't realize it, but their philosophy has been shaped accidentally by their parents, their friends, their surroundings, the news they watch, and the people they listen to. If you spend your life around complainers, you inherit their limits. If you spend it around creators, you inherit their possibilities. The difference between the average person and the wealthy one isn't intelligence, it's philosophy. The average person wishes for a better life. The wealthy plan for one. The average person says, I hope things get better. The wealthy say, I'll make things better. When I was younger, I was broke. Not just in my wallet, but in my thinking. I thought success was about luck or being at the right place at the right time. But my mentor sat me down and said, your bank account is a reflection of your philosophy. That hit me hard. I realized that if I didn't change the way I thought, no amount of work would change the way I lived. From that day forward, I made a new commitment to study success as seriously as I used to complain about failure. You see, it's not what happens to you that determines your future. It's how you think about what happens. Two people can go through the same experience. One sees defeat, the other sees a lesson. One says, this is unfair. The other says, this is feedback. Life gives both the same challenge, but only one grows. That's philosophy. So here's what you must do. Sit down and write your 5 core beliefs about money, success, and life. Be honest, then challenge each one. If you believe money is hard to make, ask yourself, is that always true? Or did I just hear that growing up? Replace every limiting belief with one that empowers you to act. Then, expose your mind daily to new ideas. Read, listen, and learn from people who've achieved what you want. One new idea can start the process of transformation. And finally, surround yourself with people who challenge your comfort zone. You can't grow in an environment built to keep you the same. The wealthy think differently because they live around people who demand different. You can't think big in a small circle. So, change your circle, change your conversations, change your philosophy, and you'll change your entire life. Because when your thinking elevates, your life has no choice but to follow. Freedom doesn't come from luck, and it doesn't come from money. It comes from discipline. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants freedom. But few are willing to pay the price of consistency. You see, discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. The difference between the average and the exceptional isn't talent. It's the small disciplines practiced long enough to create extraordinary results. Most people want the prize without the process. They say, I'll start when I feel ready. But the truth is, you'll never feel ready. The moment you wait for motivation, you've already lost the game. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Motivation is an emotion. Discipline is a decision. You don't need to feel good to do what's necessary. You need to decide that your goals matter more than your moods. When I was younger, I learned this lesson the hard way. I used to wish that life would get easier. My mentor said, don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. That statement changed my life. From then on, I realized I didn't need life to cooperate. I needed to develop the strength to handle whatever came my way. Discipline gave me that strength. Discipline built my confidence. Every time I kept a promise to myself, I built trust in my own word. And trust in yourself is the first step toward freedom. Let me tell you something powerful. Every disciplined act carries a reward. Maybe not immediately, but inevitably. You wake up early, you read instead of scrolling, you invest instead of spending, Those tiny choices compound into massive change. It's not what you do once in a while that shapes you. It's what you do daily, even when nobody's watching. Winners don't rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their systems. And systems are built through discipline. So how do you start? Start small. Wake up 30 minutes earlier than usual. Use that time to feed your mind, to learn something new, to plan your day before the world's noise begins. Eliminate one unproductive habit each week. It could be a distraction, a negative thought, or a useless expense. Replace it with something that moves you closer to your goal. Don't wait for big leaps. Success is a game of inches. The goal is progress, not perfection. And here's the final piece. Reward yourself for consistency, not just for results. Results take time. Consistency builds character. The person who learns to show up, even on the days they don't feel like it, becomes unstoppable. So, build the muscle of discipline, because discipline creates habits. Habits shape character, and character determines destiny. Freedom doesn't come when you do whatever you want. It comes when you can make yourself do what's required. That's the foundation of every fortune, the secret behind every success. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you must learn to think in years while acting in days. The average person thinks about Friday. The wealthy person thinks about freedom. Most people plan for the weekend. Successful people plan for the decade. The difference is perspective. One is trapped in the moment, the other sees beyond it. Thinking long-term is the mark of maturity. It means you've learned that what's easy now often becomes hard later, and what's hard now often becomes easy later. When I was a young man, I used to spend everything I earned. I thought a new car or a fancy dinner was success. But then I realized something painful. Every dollar I spent for instant pleasure was a dollar I stole from my future self. The moment I shifted my thinking from spending to investing, from now to later, my entire life began to change. I learned that small actions, consistently done, build massive outcomes over time. The rich understand this law of compounding, not just in money, but in habits, skills, and decisions. Every book you read today compounds into wisdom 5 years from now. Every investment you make compounds into freedom a decade later. Every healthy decision compounds into strength and energy for the future. The average mind underestimates this power because it's invisible at first. You don't see the harvest immediately after planting the seed, but the wise know the reward belongs to the patient. You see, discipline and patience are twins. They work together to create wealth, health, and happiness. Thinking long-term doesn't mean waiting forever. It means aligning your daily actions with your bigger vision. The problem is, most people want the reward of consistency without the cost of commitment. They want the fruit but avoid the planting. But life is fair. It gives harvest only to those who sow. So, I want to challenge you. Take an hour this week and write down a 5-year financial vision. Don't make it a wish, make it a blueprint. Where do you want to live? What kind of freedom do you want? What skills must you develop? Then break it down. Yearly goals, monthly disciplines, weekly habits. Once you know where you're going, today's sacrifices won't feel painful. They'll feel purposeful. And here's the secret. You can't control the future, but you can control your daily behavior. The long-term thinker knows that every day is a brick in the foundation of success. Delay one pleasure today to invest in tomorrow. Skip that impulse purchase. Read the book instead of the post. Save instead of spend. You'll look back one day and realize that the small choices you made in faith created the life you once dreamed about. The future doesn't just happen, it's built. One decision at a time. Think long term. Act today. and life will eventually hand you the rewards that only discipline and vision can earn. It's been said that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, and I can tell you from experience, that's one of life's unshakable truths. You see, your environment is a silent sculptor. It shapes your thoughts, your habits, your energy, and eventually, your destiny. If you walk with dreamers, you'll start to dream bigger. If you walk with complainers, you'll soon find reasons to complain. Association is more powerful than motivation because it determines the atmosphere in which your mind operates. When I was a young man, I didn't fully understand this principle. I spent most of my time with people who joked about success, who believed that ambition was for the lucky few. They were good people, kind, hardworking, but they had small philosophies. They thought in limits, not in possibilities. And without realizing it, I started adopting their vocabulary. It's too hard. It's not for me. Maybe someday. But someday never comes for those surrounded by mediocrity. Then I met a man who lived differently. He didn't complain about Mondays. He planned them. He didn't wish for a break. He built one. His presence challenged me. It made me uncomfortable at first. But that discomfort was growth. It was life inviting me to rise higher. He became my mentor, and soon my thinking began to change. I started setting goals, reading books, saving money, and developing discipline. Not because I suddenly became smarter, but because I changed my environment. That's the secret. Association by intention, not convenience. The people who pull you up are not always the easiest to be around. They challenge your excuses, question your habits, and push you toward more. But that's exactly what you need. Energy is contagious. Ambition is contagious. So is laziness. You must decide which contagion you want to catch. Here's what I recommend. Identify 3 people who truly inspire you. Not just by their words, but by their results. Reach out. Offer value. Learn from them. Limit the time you spend with those who drain your enthusiasm, and instead, invest it with those who ignite it. If you don't have that circle yet, build it. Join groups, attend seminars, connect online, seek out people whose mindset challenges yours to expand. And let me remind you, this isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. You can love everyone, but you can't grow with everyone. If you want to fly, you can't keep walking with those who are satisfied crawling. Your circle will either multiply your potential or suffocate it. Choose carefully, because when you surround yourself with people who lift you, your thinking sharpens, your confidence deepens, and your vision expands. You rise without forcing it. The right company doesn't just change your conversations, it changes your life. Most people work so hard just to reach stability, and the moment they finally get there, they stop growing. They sigh in relief, settle into comfort, and tell themselves, I've made it. But comfort is a quiet enemy. It whispers, stay here, when life is asking you to move forward. The difference between the average and the wealthy is that the average strive to maintain what they have, while the wealthy strive to multiply it. The goal isn't to survive, it's to expand. When I was younger, I thought success was about finally having enough. Enough money to pay the bills, enough time to rest, enough freedom to feel safe. But I learned quickly that maintenance doesn't create momentum. The moment you stop improving, you start declining. You see, the laws of life are always at work. Nothing stays still. The soil doesn't remain neutral. It's either growing weeds or growing crops. The same goes for your life, your business, your wealth, your relationships. You're either multiplying or decaying, building or eroding, moving forward or falling behind. That's why the wealthy never stop at enough. Once they reach a level of success, they ask, what can I do better? How can I expand this? They don't view success as a finish line. It's a platform for the next level. And here's something to remember. Expansion doesn't mean working harder. It means thinking smarter. It's about creating systems, building leverage, and reinvesting the rewards of today to secure the victories of tomorrow. Let's say you start a small business and it begins to profit. Most people would say, good, now I can relax. But that's when the rich mindset kicks in. The wealthy say, how do I make this business run without me? How do I take what's working and multiply it? Maybe it's by hiring a team, automating processes, or launching a second product. The key is to reinvest, not retreat. Every dollar, every hour, every lesson learned, if used correctly, can multiply. Multiplication requires vision. It requires the courage to go beyond comfort and the humility to keep learning. The rich don't protect comfort, they protect growth. And to grow, you must trade maintenance for momentum. It's not about doing more, it's about doing better. Creating systems that multiply your impact while reducing your effort. Here's a challenge. Set what I call a multiplication goal. Don't just aim to earn more. Aim to multiply what you already have. Multiply your income, yes, but also your knowledge, your influence, your capacity to give. Look at one area of your life that's steady and ask, how do I make this stronger, bigger, or more meaningful? The truth is, survival is the lowest form of living. Expansion is where life gets exciting. The wealthy understand that success isn't a static achievement, it's a moving target. So, don't stop once it works. Improve it, scale it, multiply it. Because life rewards not those who maintain, but those who multiply. There comes a time in every successful person's life when they realize that the real measure of wealth isn't in what they've gathered, but in what they've given. You can fill your house with possessions, your bank account with numbers, and your days with comfort. But if you leave this world without impact, then all you did was consume. True success is not about lifestyle, it's about legacy. The average man builds for survival. The wealthy build for significance. When I first started earning money, I thought the goal was comfort, a better car, a bigger house, a nicer suit. And while those things can bring satisfaction, they fade quickly. The thrill of buying something new is short-lived, but the feeling of making a difference, of leaving something behind that continues to grow after you're gone, that's a satisfaction that lasts forever. I remember the day my mentor told me, don't just make a living, design a life worth remembering. Those words changed everything. A lifestyle benefits you, a legacy benefits others. Lifestyle fades the moment you stop spending. Legacy multiplies the moment you start giving. The wealthy understand this. They think generationally. They ask, what am I building that will outlast me? Who will carry this forward? They create systems, businesses, and values that continue to produce good long after they've left the stage. They plant trees they'll never sit under. And that's the ultimate expression of wealth. Now, legacy doesn't require millions in the bank. It requires intention. You can start small. Teach one financial or life principle to someone each week. A child, a colleague, a friend. Document your story. Write down the lessons you've learned through struggle and success. Because what you've been through, someone else is going through now. Your story could be their map. That's how legacies begin, with one person deciding to share what they've learned instead of keeping it hidden. And here's something powerful. Make giving a goal, not an afterthought. Don't just measure your success by how much you've earned. Measure it by how much you've improved the lives of others. Set a giving goal besides your income goal. It might be mentoring young entrepreneurs, supporting a cause you believe in, or helping someone get their start. The goal is to use your wealth, your wisdom, and your experiences as tools for contribution. One day, your possessions will belong to someone else, but your principles, those will live on if you teach them. The houses you buy will age, the businesses you build may evolve, but the people you help, the lives you touch, the lessons you pass, those will echo long after you're gone. So, while the world chases lifestyles, choose to build a legacy. Because long after the car rusts and the clothes fade, the seeds you've sown in others will still be growing. And that's the kind of wealth that time can never take away. When most people get paid, the first thought that comes to mind is, what can I buy? But the wealthy ask, what can I build? That one question separates the spender from the investor, the average from the abundant. Every paycheck you receive is not a reward for your time, it's a seed for your future. If you eat all your seeds, you'll never have a harvest. But if you plant them, nurture them, and give them time to grow, they'll multiply beyond what you could ever earn by labor alone. I remember when I first started earning money, I was excited to spend it. A new suit, a fancy meal, maybe a better apartment. But it wasn't long before I realized that no matter how much I earned, I was always starting over every month. My mentor looked me in the eye and said, if you spend all you earn, you'll always be working for someone else's dream. That struck me deep. From that day forward, I decided my paycheck would become my capital, not my comfort. The philosophy is simple. The average work to spend, but the wealthy work to invest. The goal isn't to look rich, it's to be free. Every dollar you earn should have a job, and that job is to earn more dollars. When you convert earned income into investment income, you begin to shift from the world of effort to the world of leverage, where money works harder than you do. And that's the beginning of financial freedom. Start small if you must, but start. Set aside 20% of everything you make before you even think about spending. Automate it. Don't rely on discipline alone. Build a system that makes saving and investing effortless. The beauty of automation is that it removes emotion from the process. You don't have to feel like saving. It happens automatically. And when those investments start producing dividends, resist the temptation to spend them. Reinvest them. Let compounding become your silent partner in wealth. I've seen people chase higher salaries, but without a wealth mindset, more money just leads to bigger expenses. They upgrade the car, the house, the vacation, and the cycle continues. Remember, the goal isn't to expand your lifestyle, it's to expand your assets. The wealthy live by design, not impulse. They understand that money is a tool, and tools are meant to build, not entertain. You must train yourself to see every dollar as a worker. You can either let that worker go out and multiply for you, or you can waste its potential on things that lose value the moment you buy them. Every time you invest, you're buying back a little more of your time, a little more of your freedom. So don't just work for a living. Work for a legacy. Let your money serve your future, not your habits. Because when you learn to earn for investing, not for spending, you'll discover that wealth isn't built in what you buy, it's built in what you build. There's a point in every person's financial journey where they must make a critical decision. Will they always work for money, or will they train their money to work for them? Most people never make that shift. They spend a lifetime trading hours for dollars, believing hard work alone leads to wealth. But hard work, while noble, has a limit. There are only 24 hours in a day. Wealthy people understood early that true freedom begins when money keeps moving, even when they stop. If you don't learn to earn while you sleep, you'll work until you die. Not because you have to, but because you never learned how not to. I remember early in my career, I was exhausted, working long hours, running from task to task, believing that success meant more hustle. One day my mentor said, "You're doing fine, but you're building a life that depends on your alarm clock. You need to build one that doesn't." That statement hit me hard, because what he meant was simple. Real wealth begins when your money, your ideas, and your systems begin to produce income without your constant presence. That's when life becomes not about survival, but about choice. The principle is simple. You must build or invest in cash-flowing assets, whether it's real estate, dividend-paying stocks, or digital products that sell themselves. Your goal is to create systems that replace your effort with leverage. Imagine owning something that pays you month after month, whether you're awake or asleep. That's not fantasy. It's financial intelligence in motion. Every wealthy person I've ever known has mastered one skill above all others. They learned how to make money move without them. Now, creating passive income doesn't happen overnight. It begins with discipline and vision. You might start with a small investment, maybe a few $100s into a stock or a rental property. But it's not the amount that matters, it's the intention. Each dollar you invest becomes an employee working tirelessly for you. Your job is to train it well, assign it wisely, and review its performance regularly. Every 3 months, evaluate your assets. Are they working as hard as you are? If not, redirect them. One of the greatest joys in life is to wake up and realize that money arrived while you were dreaming. That's not luck, it's design. But here's the key. Passive income doesn't mean no work. It means front-loaded work. You build systems once and let them serve you for years. Whether it's writing a book, creating an online product, or building a business that runs without you, the secret is to work hard once and get paid forever. So, build your life around leverage, not labor. Use your wisdom, creativity, and courage to create streams that flow with or without you. Because when money works while you sleep, you wake up to something far more valuable than wealth. You wake up to freedom. Most people spend their entire lives working for someone else's dream. They trade their time for a paycheck, believing that security lies in employment. But what they don't realize is that true security doesn't come from wages. It comes from ownership. Wages make you a living. Ownership makes you a fortune. The difference is profound. When you work for wages, your income stops the moment you stop. But when you own something, an idea, a system, a business, an investment, it keeps paying you long after the work is done. Early in my life, I worked hard. Long hours, loyal to my employer, and proud of the check that came every Friday. But one day I had a thought that changed everything. If I can work that hard to build someone else's dream, why can't I work just as hard to build my own? That was the day I shifted from being an employee in my mind to becoming an owner in my heart. Ownership is not just a financial shift, it's a psychological one. It's when you stop saying, "I work for," and start saying, "I build." The wealthy understand that ownership is where leverage lives. It's where you move from linear growth to exponential growth. Because when you own something that appreciates, you no longer just earn from effort, you earn from value. A business, a brand, a piece of real estate, or even intellectual property. These are seeds of ownership that grow while you sleep. The goal isn't necessarily to quit your job overnight. It's to use your job as a platform to create ownership. Start small, but start. Maybe it's a side business, something that turns your skill into value. Or maybe it's investing in companies whose ideas you believe in. The wealthy don't just earn income, they acquire equity. They don't just trade hours, they trade insight, creativity, and courage for ownership. And the beautiful thing about ownership is that it compounds. One smart decision today can pay you for decades. Here's something important. Ownership doesn't always mean starting from scratch. Sometimes it means joining a partnership, buying a small stake, or creating intellectual assets like books or digital courses. Anything that appreciates in value or generates income without constant labor is a step toward ownership. But you must track it. How much of your income is from ownership and how much from employment? Because what you measure, you improve. When you own something, you think differently. You protect it, nurture it, and innovate around it. Ownership gives you pride, purpose, and power, not over others, but over your destiny. So, the next time you clock in for work, ask yourself, am I building my own dream or someone else's? Use your current job to fund your future ownership. Because the real path from average to wealthy isn't paved with paychecks. It's built on equity, ideas, and ownership. One of the greatest lessons in building wealth is this: before you grow, protect. Most people are in such a hurry to get rich that they forget the first rule of the game. Don't lose what you've already earned. The truth is, growth is exciting, but protection is wisdom. If you don't build a foundation of security, your empire will always stand on shaky ground. Wealth isn't just about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and how safely you keep it. I remember a man who once told me, I don't need to worry about saving. I'm focused on making more. A few years later, he faced one bad turn in business and it wiped out everything he'd built. See, when you move too fast without protection, even success becomes fragile. The wealthy understand this. They build defense before offense. It's not fear, it's foresight. They know storms will come, and they prepare for them before the clouds appear. The first layer of protection is cash, your safety fund. Imagine you're climbing a mountain without a rope. That's what life feels like without savings. A strong safety net gives you the courage to take bolder steps because you know you can recover. Keep 6 to 12 months of living expenses tucked away, not for spending, but for stability. It's the foundation that allows you to take calculated risks. The second layer is protection of income and assets. If your ability to earn is your greatest tool, you must ensure it. I've seen people work a lifetime building a fortune only to lose it to one accident, one illness, or one lawsuit. Protect your health, your property, and your income, because one misstep without insurance can erase decades of discipline. It's not about expecting disaster, it's about preparing for possibility. The wise build shelters before it rains. And then comes diversification. Never put all your seeds in one field. If one crop fails, you still have others to harvest. The rich never depend on a single source of income. They spread their investments across businesses, industries, and even countries. They build layers of security that compound, not collapse. It's the principle of balance, not just chasing returns, but managing risk. The difference between the average and the wealthy isn't just how they grow, but how they protect. Most people play to win fast. The rich play to win forever. They understand that wealth is a long game. It requires both patience and prudence. So, as you build, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, if everything stopped today, my job, my business, my income, how long could I stand? If the answer makes you nervous, start building protection. Because wealth without defense is like a castle without walls, impressive from afar, but vulnerable up close. Grow, yes, but guard what you grow. That's how empires last. One of the most liberating truths in the journey from average to wealthy is this: effort has limits, but leverage does not. You can only work so many hours in a day, But with the right leverage, your results can multiply even while you sleep. The rich understand this deeply. They don't rely on hard work alone. They rely on systems, people, and money working for them. Average people try to do everything themselves. The wealthy build mechanisms that do the heavy lifting. You see, there's a ceiling on how far effort alone can take you. You can only push so hard, grind so long, or stretch so far. I remember when I used to think success was about working harder, putting in longer hours, skipping sleep, and doing it all on my own. But then I realized something. You can't get wealthy by yourself. The world's greatest fortunes are not built on personal effort. They're built on collective effort, organized around vision, systems, and leadership. Leverage begins with people. Find those who can do what you can't, or who can free you to focus on what you do best. The wealthy hire talent, delegate responsibility, and collaborate with those whose skills complement their own. Instead of saying, "I'll do it myself," they ask, "Who can help me do it better?" One person can run fast, but a team can run far. Learn to build teams, partnerships, and networks that multiply your ability to produce results. Then comes time leverage, automation. There's technology now that can do in seconds what once took hours. The wealthy use it not for entertainment, but for expansion. They automate savings, investments, emails, sales, anything repetitive. Why? Because every minute you free from tasks that machines or systems can handle becomes another minute to create, plan, or grow. Automate processes so your business, your finances, and even parts of your personal life move forward without constant supervision. That's not laziness, that's leverage. And the third form of leverage is money. Every dollar can either disappear or duplicate. When you invest wisely, your money begins to work for you through interest, dividends, business expansion, or compounding growth. The average person spends their money, the wealthy deploy it. They send every dollar to work in the market, in assets, or in systems that create more income. That's the difference between labor income and leveraged income. One depends on your presence, the other on your design. Leverage is what allows you to buy back your time, scale your impact, and build wealth without burning out. It's not about doing more. It's about making more happen with less effort. The goal is not to work harder, it's to make your work multiply. So, ask yourself, where in your life are you the bottleneck? What tasks, decisions, or routines depend only on you? If you can identify them and build leverage around them through systems, people, or capital, you'll move from a life of limitation to one of liberation. Because the wealthy don't just work for money, they build machines that work for them. And that, my friends, is where real freedom begins. One of the greatest secrets of the wealthy is that they don't complicate life, they simplify it. Complexity drains energy, time, and focus. And focus is the currency of results. Most people think success is about adding more effort, more ideas, more activity. But the truth is, wealth grows not when you add, but when you subtract. The rich understand that simplicity creates clarity, and clarity creates power. The average person drowns in distraction. The wealthy rise through discipline. In the early years of my journey, I used to chase every idea that crossed my path. A new business, a new investment, a new opportunity. But all that chasing only left me exhausted and scattered. It wasn't until I learned to simplify, to focus on what truly mattered, that my results began to multiply. You see, it's not how many things you do that counts, but how many things you do well. You don't need 10 strategies, You need one strategy done with excellence and consistency. Simplicity is not about doing less for the sake of laziness. It's about doing less of what doesn't matter, so you can do more of what does. The wealthy cut noise. They say no more than they say yes. They streamline their finances, their decisions, and their daily routines. They know that every decision drains a little energy, so they create systems that reduce the need to decide. Automate what can be automated. Your savings, your investments, your bills, so your success becomes a natural outcome, not a daily struggle. Simplicity also applies to your financial life. Most people make money complicated. Dozens of accounts, endless subscriptions, emotional purchases, scattered investments. The wealthy keep it simple. Earn, save, invest, give, repeat. They track where their money goes and make every dollar serve a purpose. They don't chase every trend or hype. They master a few proven principles and repeat them for decades. Think of it like a garden. You can't grow fruit in a field full of weeds. Simplify your garden. Pull the weeds of distraction, indecision, and unnecessary complexity. Focus your attention and resources on the few things that truly move the needle. The right business, the right habits, the right mindset. Remember, the human mind can only hold so much before it becomes overwhelmed. The wealthy protect their mental bandwidth the way they protect their bank accounts. They don't fill their days with chaos, they fill them with clarity. The more you simplify, the more energy you have to execute. And when execution is consistent, wealth becomes inevitable. So, if you want to multiply your results, start by simplifying your life. Cut the noise. Stop chasing everything. Focus on the essentials. Create systems that repeat success without demanding more effort every day. Because the truth is, wealth isn't built in the chaos of complexity. It's built in the calm of clarity. Simplicity doesn't limit growth, it accelerates it. When your life becomes simple, your results can finally become extraordinary. You see, money by itself is temporary. It comes, it goes, it changes hands. But what you become in the process of earning it, and what you build with it, that's what lasts. The goal isn't just to make a fortune, it's to make a difference. Wealth without legacy is like a tree without fruit. It may look strong, but it serves no one. The richest people in the world don't just measure success by numbers in an account. They measure it by the impact of their contribution, the lives they touched, and the principles they passed down. When you begin to see wealth as a tool for legacy rather than luxury, everything changes. You stop asking, what can I buy? And start asking, what can I build that lasts? Because money can buy comfort, but only purpose can buy immortality. The truth is, you can't take your wealth with you, but you can leave it working for others long after you're gone. And the greatest legacy isn't the inheritance you leave in someone's hands, but the wisdom you leave in their minds. I remember meeting a man years ago who told me, I want to be remembered as the one who broke the cycle. That's legacy thinking. He wasn't interested in being known for fancy things. He wanted his children to grow up free from the financial struggles he endured. So he studied, invested, and built not just a business, but a philosophy, one that would guide his family for generations. You see, legacy begins when your vision expands beyond yourself. Legacy also requires structure. The rich plan for generations. They create systems, trusts, foundations, investments, and principles that keep their wealth and values alive long after they're gone. They understand that wealth without wisdom destroys, but wealth guided by purpose multiplies. So plan beyond your lifetime. Build something that continues to serve others when you're no longer around. Mentor someone. Teach what you've learned. Start a scholarship or invest in a community project. Even one seed of wisdom planted in another life can grow into a forest of change. The question you must ask yourself is simple. What will my name mean when I'm no longer here? That's your true ROI, return on impact. Define your legacy in one clear sentence and live every day toward it. Because at the end of it all, no one will remember the car you drove or the house you owned, but they will remember the lessons you shared, the lives you changed, and the example you set. So build wisely, make money, but let money make meaning. Build systems that live beyond you. Use your time and resources to serve a purpose bigger than your comfort. Because one day, your bank account will close, but your legacy, if built with intention, will never stop earning. Legacy is the ultimate return. It's not about how much you keep, it's about how much you continue to give long after you're gone. As we come to a close, I want you to take a moment and really think about something, not casually, not just with your mind, but with your spirit. Ask yourself, am I living as the person I was designed to become, or just as the person I settled to be? Because that one question determines whether you'll live a life of quiet frustration or one of lasting fulfillment. You see, wealth is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. The difference between average and wealthy, between ordinary and extraordinary, is not luck, intelligence, or even opportunity. It's philosophy. How you think about life, work, time, and money shapes every result you experience. The poor wish, the average work, and the wealthy plan. And if you can shift your thinking from what can I get to what can I give, from how can I survive to how can I serve, everything begins to change. Your results begin to expand because you begin to expand. Now, I know change isn't easy. I know discipline feels hard, sacrifice feels lonely, and growth feels uncomfortable. But remember this, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. Every small act of consistency, every extra page you read, every unnecessary purchase you skip, every hour you invest in your growth, these are not small things. They are the building blocks of your financial independence and personal greatness. I've seen it happen countless times. The man who once blamed his boss learned to take responsibility, and in 5 years, he became his own boss. The woman who used to spend every dollar began saving 10%, then investing 20%, and before long, her money was working harder than she was. These are not miracles, these are patterns. Success always leaves clues, and the moment you start following them, you begin to rewrite your story. So here's the call to action. Starting today, commit to becoming more valuable. Don't just wish for better circumstances. Become the kind of person who creates them. Study success. Read daily. Plan weekly. Review your progress monthly. Save before you spend. Build assets before you buy. Luxuries. And above all, never stop learning. Because the day you stop learning is the day you stop earning. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who make you uncomfortable in all the right ways. Seek wisdom more than applause, freedom more than comfort, and legacy more than lifestyle. Remember, the goal is not to look rich, it's to be free, because freedom is the real wealth. So when you leave here today, don't leave with motivation alone. Motivation fades. Leave with resolve. The resolve to take one step toward mastery, one action toward freedom, one habit toward wealth. Because the secret to success is simple. Do today what others won't, and tomorrow you'll live as others can't. The journey from average to wealthy doesn't start in your wallet, it starts in your mind. Change your thinking and you'll change your life. Don't just dream of wealth, deserve it. Start today, because the best time to build your future was yesterday, and the second best time is right now.